the cleanest of clean finishers from the best on the planet.
It's time for the biggest sports stories.
Liverpool, the champions of Europe, are top of the world.
The biggest interviews.
That such a great spectacle is ruined by such thuggish behavior.
And all the analysis right here.
He's the one player that has the arrogance to think that he can play in any stadium in the world and any pitch in the world in front of any player in the world and take them on.
Every weekday, it's my sport, it's your sport. It's ZiFM Sport. Let's join the team for the biggest show in the world of sport on ZiFM Stereo. My station, your station.
ZiFM Sport on a Friday evening, building up to the weekend. It's the weekend preview, and in studio, Barry Menandi, Chris Gray, Sean Tafrenyika, our producers behind the desk, and my name is Mike Madoda. A bit later on, we'll be joined by Alois Munjira for the beautiful game. What can you look forward to on today's show? On the home front, Highlanders coach Mark Harrison says he'll be adding 7 new players before the start of the season as the Bulawayo Giants seek to challenge for honours in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League that has been dominated by FC Platinum for the past 3 years.
Our weekend preview in international sports zones in on the Six Nations Rugby, where England coach Eddie Jones will unleash his own bomb squad upon Scotland at Murrayfield in the conviction that the Red Roses can still win the title despite their opening weekend defeat to France.
In Around the World in 60, Russell Westbrook lit up the Staples Center in Los Angeles as he surpassed 20,000 points in the Rockets' win over the Lakers. In Cape Town, tennis great Roger Federer will put his undefeated match for Africa record on the line against rival Rafael Nadal tonight. And we'll get you up to speed with the second ODI between the Proteas and England at Kingsmead in Durban.
The beautiful game will kick off on the continent, where the next chapter of a brewing bitter rivalry will come to the fore after South African giants Mamelodi Sundowns were pitted against Egyptian giants Al Ahly in the quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League. In Spain, heavyweights Barcelona and Real Madrid both suffered surprising losses last night to crash out of the Copa del Rey. In Germany, defending champions Bayern Munich want to show nearest rivals Leipzig, who is the boss in the Bundesliga showdown on Sunday, while in Italy, it's time once again for the Derby della Madonnina at the Giuseppe Meazza Stadium, where title-chasing Internazionale will lock horns with AC Milan, who are showing signs of resurgence in Serie A, and also take a look at the 4 matches that will be played in England. It's the weekend preview, and it's live on ZiFM.
The Home Front. Local sports news and analysis. From Rufaro to Barberfields, Mandava to Nyamunga, all the perfect moments in the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League come together on ZiFM Sport.
Right, let's go to Bulawayo, where Highlanders coach Mark Harrison says he'll be adding 7 new players before the start of the season as the Bulawayo Giants seek an early grip on the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League title race that has been dominated by FC Platinum for the past 3 years. Bosso last won the league title in 2006, exactly 4 years after their trailblazing 4 back-to-back league titles under Raman Gumbo and later the late Eddie May. Now 16 years later, another British native is in charge of the Bosso dugout, and an aura of excitement is building among the club's faithful. It's Mark Harrison in charge. He's a coach, Barry, that has been met with very little success in his stints in charge of Harare City, in charge of Caps United, and the Highlanders faithful will perhaps meet his appointment with a bit of hesitancy, as it were, in terms of the confidence stakes ahead of next season, because they don't know what to expect.
There will be some apprehension, I think, around his appointment, but I think that the Highlanders fans have one up on possibly all the fans in Zimbabwe, and I'm going to be hated for this, but then that's because Highlanders fans that I think are very educated about the game. So they love to be entertained. They love to watch exciting football. And Mark Harrison, even if he hasn't delivered trophies where he's been in Zimbabwe, has certainly delivered exciting football. So I think on that standpoint, Highlanders fans will be excited that they're going to go to Emagumeni expecting to see the team entertain, the team play open, expansive football, and hopefully at the end of the day, deliver a win.
Yeah, I think I must agree disagree with you that I think Highlanders fans are very different from fans of the other teams in the country. In that if the team is entertaining, even when the results are not coming, they're likely to show up at Barberfield Stadium to back the boys. That's why they've got the highest stadium attendances in the Premier Soccer League. Now, you take a look at the squad they have, Chris. They finished the last season on a high, but it was with a different coach. And their confidence would certainly have been a lot higher if they had managed to keep hold of Peter de Jong. He's moved over to FC Platinum, and the Highlanders, at least right now, I think their main battle would be to make sure that Prince Dube, their best player, remains in their ranks ahead of the start of the new season.
Definitely, there needs to be someone from the original spine that had been put together previously from the winning days. I'm going to disagree with you guys a little bit on the fact that the Highlanders faithful, in as much as they don't consistently just demand results, I think you've got a Highlanders now that has had a taste for the silver, as it were. Last season, they managed to grab the Chibuku Super Cup, and that in itself means they want an upward trajectory. They're not going to be expecting to just draw games.
No. I think
pick up games
you
here and there, but
misunderstood it, Chris. We didn't say that they won't be expecting to win, but we've said that more than any other set of fans, they are not quick to vote with their feet and leave the stadium. They will show up. Even when the team is struggling, they tend to show up. As long as the team is playing well and entertaining, you will get fans show up at Barberfield Stadium.
They might show up, but my thing is, I think Mark Harrison is not coming into the situation that Peter de Jong did. I think the Highlanders fans now want something more, and that's what he needs to give
Definitely,
them.
they certainly want something more. And does he have a style of play, Alois, Mark Harrison, that the Highlanders fans will latch onto? Because, style at Highlanders is very big. If having been fed, that generation, the golden generation, 1987, Yana Mercedes and Willard Kumalo, Douglas Molloy, right through to the Peter Ndlovu era around 1990 and Abraham Bambo Makenya to 1993. Style has always been a big part of Highlanders. And does Mark Harrison offer that?
I'm not sure. If you ask me, a good guy, nice guy, good friend of mine and all that. But I think when you look at de Jong, I think he was a perfect fit for Highlanders. And if he had carried on, it was going to have been very brilliant for Highlanders. Mark Harrison prefers those, he's more like Norman Mapes.
Slow methodical
build-ups. At Barberfields, they don't get excited about that. They don't get excited about that. You remember we spoke about Prince Dube, that he got into his groove after de Jong came because of the fast-paced play.
The play was more direct.
Yes, more direct. That's what Boso need. They are very quick at whistling and making a lot of noise to spur their team to go forward. And now you can't be whistling for a team that is
doing 18 passes in its own half.
You're not gonna be whistling for that. So I don't know if it's gonna get all in sync. We'll wait and see. But his type of play is different from de Jong. I would have thought Islanders should have done all they could to hold on to de Jong, because he actually brought the Highlanders of old back into it.
Okay, we want to hear from Highlanders fans and football fans in general. We've got an online poll. It's running on Twitter, actually. If you can take part in it. Will Highlanders win the league this season under Mike Harrison? Is a simple question that we are asking. And there are 4 options you've got to choose from. Will Highlanders win the league this season under Mark Harrison? Do take part in that Twitter poll. You can also just send us your thoughts on WhatsApp as well. 0731-168-045. By way of an update, if you want to know what's happening at Highlanders, impeccable sources say Boso will soon start talks with the former sons Obadiah Tarumbwa as well as Mukakeli Dube, who are training with the rest of the team in their ongoing pre-season preparations. Boso have parted ways with influential defender Clive Piri, one of their best players, as well as of course midfielder Denzel Kumalo, who joined FC Platinum. So they've got some slots that they need to fill with experienced players, and also the junior slots where the likes of Andrew Mbemba, outstanding prospect, he's turning 20, meaning that he'll no longer be registered as a junior. So there's some options there, Barry, for some upcoming youth players at Boso to be registered with the squad.
Absolutely. I mean, there are 2 players that were registered under the juniors category slot, Divine Mindirira and Russell Chifura. They'll have to work extra hard if they are to be registered in the seniors category, since they are 2 turning 20 this month. So there is a bit of movement upwards and movement outwards at Highland Highlanders. Let's see who comes in and fills those spots.
Now, a quick update of an administrative nature. According to sources, PSL sponsors Delta Beverages are set to unveil a $75 million sponsorship deal for the Castle Lager Premier Soccer League, which will run for the next 3 years, while the beverages manufacturers directors have remained tight-lipped about the new deal that is set to be announced in the next 2 weeks. Sources close to the conglomerate revealed that Delta and PSL have agreed to keep the same sponsorship deal that was unveiled in 2017 when Delta extended its relationship with the country's flagship football league.
Hi, my name is Sean Williams, Zimbabwe cricket captain. You're listening to ZiFM Sport.
Z.
Let's give you a local sports news roundup. In cricket news, all-rounder Sean Williams showed the way with bat and ball in the domestic Pro 50 Championship games played during the week in Harare and Bulawayo. Williams, who was recently named the Zimbabwe national cricket team test captain and acquitted himself well against Sri Lanka, appears to be taking his form to the limited overs game. He recorded back-to-back List A 50s in Tuska's successive victories over visiting Rangers side in Bulawayo. The 33-year-old was instrumental when Tuska's beat Rangers by 8 wickets on Tuesday with a fine knock of 51 from 28 balls. Over to golf news. Zimbabwe professional golfers had an indifferent start in the opening round of the Ram Cape Town Open at Royal Cape Golf Club yesterday. The players, who included defending champion Ben Follett-Smith, all failed to record under par scores and are unlikely to recover and make the cut. Follett-Smith, who booked his tour card by winning the tournament last year, was a pale shadow of himself as he carded a 6-over par 78 in yesterday's round. We wrap it up with water polo news, where Zimbabwe Aquatics Union Water Polo Board of Control has announced that under 18 boys and girls teams will compete in the FINA African Youth Qualifiers this month in South Africa. Chairman Craig Keeson will manage the boys team, while the girls team will be led by Sarah Schonfeld. The FINA African Youth Qualifiers will see 3 African countries, South Africa, Egypt and Zimbabwe, taking part. The winning team will represent Africa in the FINA World Youth Championships that will be held in Turkey in August for the boys, while the girls team will stage it out in Israel in September this year.
Catch the fun and the excitement on the Diode platform. Download the Tel1 Diode mobile app and select Zimbabwe as your country to start enjoying the ultimate internet entertainment experience. Diode is brought to you by Tel1, bringing you together.
Here we go again.
Enjoy world-class radio online. ZiFM Stereo is available on TuneIn. Search for ZiFM Stereo and you got it.
From the front of the grid to the back of the net, it's ZiFM Sport. International Sports News Roundup, where the world comes out to play.
Just a reminder to keep your hashtags coming in on 0731-168-045. That's for the Polenta Nutri-Active Instant Porridge Daily Sports Trivia. You could be the lucky listener we get to call back to take part in today's challenge. We got Six Nations news for you, where England coach Eddie Jones will unleash his own bomb squad upon Scotland at Murrayfield. In the conviction England can still win the Guineas Six Nations title, Jones has opted for a 6-2 split between forwards and backs for only the 5th time in his Twickenham reign, pointing to a forward-led assault to regain the Calcutta Cup surrendered at Murrayfield 2 years ago. It was a tactic used to great effect by South Africa at the last World Cup, including in the 32-12 demolition of England in the final, and it was subsequently dubbed the Bomb Squad. Let's hear from Aussie Eddie Jones.
The preparation this week have been good. We're obviously very disappointed with our result against France. We've sought to address the issues from the game and have had a really good, sharp preparation for Scotland. Every week we try to pick the top 23 that we have available, and we've picked a particularly strong forward pack. We know the game against Scotland's going to be a lot of kicking. They're one of the biggest kicking teams in the world. So we've looked to make sure we're strong in that area. Just looked at refreshing the front row. We've had a 6-day turnaround. Mako we rested for this game, so he comes in nice and fresh with plenty of energy. And a tight head. We'll get a great 80 minutes out of Stewart and Sinclair.
Z.
England coach Eddie Jones, they're speaking to the media ahead of that game versus Scotland at Murrayfield. Now, he speaks a good deal, doesn't he, Barry? Eddie Jones. We heard him speak in the lead up to the France game. He accused the French of being a soft touch, and that they young team. They wouldn't be able to handle the physical onslaught that England was going to launch on them, and it backfired because the French came motivated and eager to prove a point, and they upstaged England in that opening game. And in this case as well, you got Scotland, the traditional rivalry between Scotland and England. This is a derby. And you know, when the Scots line up and they play or they sing, Flower of Scotland, probably led by Amy MacDonald this evening, they're going to be up for it. And they've shown in the last two seasons. Last season, I think England had to score a last-ditch try to earn a draw. And in the previous season, they lost to Scotland. So Scotland is going to be up for it. And here he is again, promising to do things to Scotland. And this can only serve to get the Scots ready for this encounter.
Look, to an extent now, Eddie Jones only stops talking to reload his gun and fire it aimed at his foot, because in truth he should just focus on his team tactics and what's happening with his squad. When he then speaks about, like for instance, we just heard him talk about the kicking game of Scotland, you know that Scotland is going to have something in their arsenal that's going to surprise England. So
they can play.
They can play. They can, ball in hand, they can play. They've shown it. Even at the breakdown where the 6-2 split you were talking about, the bomb squad is going to be expected to dominate, to have those fresh legs, that fresh ability to front up. Scotland can still compete at the breakdown and at the set pieces. So for me, I think England needs to prepare for a war of attrition, an all-out assault, and be able to get the victory. However, Scotland is coming, and I think Scotland can actually do the business.
Chris, in this past week, and I think after the disappointment of the World Cup, the English media, I think now, is starting to be a bit more skeptical of Eddie Jones. You know, they haven't exactly turned on him, but they're starting to question his methods. And he's going to have to turn it around pretty quickly. He needs to win this game, certainly, because I don't think it will be acceptable for England to lose their opening two matches, because that will mean that the Six Nations is lost before it's even begun.
Definitely. And what's interesting is that Eddie Jones continues to make some interesting changes to his lineup. Even where he's coming under fire, he's under pressure now. Ben Youngs has been dropped down to the bench, and he's chosen a less experienced Willie Hines, who had a few runouts. I think it was during the warm-up of the Rugby World Cup. He didn't do anything significant that was memorable during the Rugby World Cup, but here he is being selected over a more experienced player. So then you start to question, okay, what exactly is Eddie Jones trying to achieve with his England squad?
How's Mourinho?
I think he started to tinker, because you take a look at that England starting 15. Yes, the usual names that we know, your Maro Itojes, your Carl Sinclairs, your Tom Currys, your George Croix, your Marco Vunipola. But then there are also the names that Chris is talking about, your George Furbank. He's coming in into that team. You got Willie Hines, he's coming into the team as well. And then those are guys that I think have been at best fringe over the last year or so in the England setup. So that's going to be a very interesting match, and we'll be keeping an eye on it. And they're up against a Scottish side, of course, that's got a bit of experience in Stuart Hogg. Sean Maitland as well, of course, grew up in New Zealand. He knows how to play the game. And of course, they got the likes of Johnny Gray and Jamie Ritchie, who will front up in the physical stakes like Barry was talking about. The other fixtures that are on in Six Nations rugby this weekend, we'll see Ireland take on Wales in the pick of the fixtures, and then France will take on Italy with the ability to consolidate at the top of the standings.
Staying with rugby, let's give you a quick Super Rugby update. Now, the Brumbies emerged victorious in their all-Australian Super Rugby clash against the Melbourne Rebels in Canberra this morning. The Brumbies won 39-26 after leading 24-7 at half-time. Earlier, South Africa's Rugby World Cup hero Makazole Mapimpi scored a double as the Sharks outclassed the Highlanders 42-20 in Dunedin. Sit down, Sean. The Sharks posted 5 tries to 3 with the wing Mapimpi crossing twice just before half-time to give his team the advantage. Sean, celebrating success all the time. Such a glory hunter in the studio. We should really find a better producer.
It's a good result.
It is a good result. Fantastic result, I must say. Super Rugby weekend action looks like this. Chiefs versus the Crusaders, Waratahs versus the Blues, Lions versus the Reds. The Stormers will take on the Blues, and the Jaguares entertain the Hurricanes.
Hi, my name is Luke Bahamute, Los Angeles Clippers small forward, and you're listening to ZiFM Sport.
A
Around the world in 60 seconds. International sports news.
We take off in California, where Russell Westbrook says his thoughts were with his brother Kobe Bryant and his family as he surpassed 20,000 points in a game that ended early this morning. The 31-year-old dropped 41 points to lead the Houston Rockets to a 121-111 victory over the LA Lakers, having entered the game 34 points away from the milestone. Westbrook became the 46th player to have achieved the feat when he landed from the free throw line during a 16-point eruption in the third quarter, adding another line to his Hall of Fame resume. In Cape Town, tennis great Roger Federer will put his undefeated match of Africa record on the line against rival Rafael Nadal at the Cape Town Stadium tonight. The Swiss ace and his longtime Spanish foe will square off in the latest Match for Africa series clash, the sixth installment of the exhibition matches to help generate funds for the Roger Federer Foundation. To date, the foundation has raised over $52 million to fund schooling, transport and food for children in Africa. We touched down in Durban, where the Proteas won the toss and elected to bat first in the rain-hit second ODI against England at Kingsmead. The toss was delayed by nearly 2 hours after rain fell for most of the day, and the match has been reduced to 45 overs per side. A quick update for you. Ben Stokes took 3 late wickets to seal a dramatic final day victory for England at Newlands, and they won by 189.
The Daily Sports Trivia question is brought to you by Perlenta Nutri-Active Instant Porridge. Kickstart your day.
Right, Tokuziva, you're going to Borema Booza tomorrow afternoon. Make sure that you start your day right. Kickstart your day with Perlenta Nutri-Active Instant Porridge. I'm telling you, you get that kick, you get that boost of energy. You'll be surprised what you can do. Simply mix it with warm milk or water, and you enjoy the goodness of healthy, tasty porridge.
So we have Gerald on the line today. Hi, Gerald.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thanks. Could you say Cheetown?
Boss, good to say go.
What team do you support in Zim?
Zim?
Dynamos. Oh, your team is looking good.
Yeah, it's not good, yeah.
So I have 2 questions for you. If you get both of them correct, you could enter the draw to win something cool from Perlenta Nutri-Active. Are you ready?
I'm ready, yeah.
Your first question, what is the name of the new Highlanders coach? Is it A, Errol Akbai? Is it B, Eddie May? Or is it C, Mark Harrison?
Oh, God.
But we were talking about him.
Oh, come on.
My man.
Mark Harrison.
Oh yes,
good guess.
Second question, what is the nickname of the Australian rugby team? Is it A, the Red Roses? Is it B, the Men in White? Or is it C, the Cross Bearers?
The
name of the England rugby team. England rugby team.
Yes. Can I give the answers?
Is it A, the Red Roses? Is it B, the Men in White? Or is it C, the Cross Bearers?
The Red Roses.
Good in there. Gerald,
wow.
Good guess, my man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gerald.
Okay.
The Daily Sports Trivia question was brought to you by Perlenta Nutri-Active Instant Porridge. Kickstart your day. A decade of dominance. Lewis Hamilton, Callisto Pasua, and of course, Serena Williams.
Irresistible, majestic, and the judgment of history will surely be that she was in a class of her own.
A decade of surprises. The Springboks in Japan, the Gems in Liverpool, and Ranieri's Leicester City.
Wes Morgan, Claudio Ranieri. Lift the trophy to the skies. Leicester City are the champions of the Premier League. 5,000 to watch on. They have stunned the football world.
A decade of goodbyes. Hamilton Masakadza, Richie McCaw, Usain Bolt.
Watch the clock, it's goal for Bolt. And again, he's done it again. They say lightning doesn't strike twice.
A decade of comebacks. Barcelona versus PSG. Hard life, Shibekwi. Tiger Woods.
This is going to be with completion one of the great comebacks in any sport all time.
The return to glory. It was a decade of sheer thrills, spills, and excitement as the world came out to play. And in 2020, we go again. Bigger, better, and even more exciting on your favorite show, ZiFM Sport.
To all you Twitter heads, connect with ZiFM Stereo on twitter.com/ZiFM Stereo /ZiFM Stereo.
Fan Zone. Get in touch with the team and have your say your way.
Operator.
Our WhatsApp line in the studio 0731168045. That's 0731168045. This one says that I am a Highlanders fan, but us winning the league with Harrison, nope. Maybe retain our Chibuku Super Cup. That is possible. That's a message from Breezy, of course, who says that he's a Highlanders fan. Boso will finish top 4 Kwete Kutora League. Tafadzwa Kamukuti. You don't tell us where you are writing us from.
Okay, so we did ask that question on Twitter. Will Highlanders win the league this season under Mark Harrison? And of course, there were 4 options there: champions in waiting, challengers, average side, and not a chance. And I can tell you the results are in, guys. Lots of votes that came in, and I can tell you that a tie between no chance and average side. On
Wow!
But 29% each.
No, that's hard.
I ask.
And then 27% challengers.
Yeah.
And then 15% of voters think that Highlanders are champions in waiting.
I don't understand why fans of a club like Highlanders, after they finish so strongly, that they can actually think that they can challenge for the championship. I'm confused. I'm surprised.
The Twitter poll, though, may of course have been. It may have had fans of other teams as well who
probably
who give their opinion.
I really don't understand.
Yeah.
They finished strongly. That's they finished strongly, and they didn't lose their star player. They lost Denzel, yes, but he doesn't play in a very critical position. And the fact that they kept Prince, which was actually very, very critical for that team, and they kept Mudua for that critical position as well. I don't see why they can't actually be confident.
Yeah, and I think
because they're one of the few that are consistent, that kept a consistent squad.
Yeah, they'll need to find a good right back because for my money, McClive Piri was the best right back in the league. Fantastic player. Denzel, I don't think is a big loss because
I don't think so
I
either.
think he's going to allow Brian Banda to flourish, and because those two were swapping, in terms of if one is selected for a few weeks, then the other one comes in, and so forth. But I think if Brian Banda is entrusted with the responsibility, and we saw the type of goals that Brian Banda can score from outside of the box, I think he's a better player than Denzel Kumalo. He's the player I think that De Jong should have taken if he wanted a creative spark at FC Platinum. He should have gone with Brian Banda.
For a team that only lost McClive, I don't see why fans are not confident enough that they can actually challenge.
I think there's a bit of voting along party lines, if you want to use the parliamentary parlance, whereby I think fans of other teams are just voting to say that Bosa hasn't got a chance because they want their team to succeed. This one says, hi guys, I agree with Manandi. I love Manandi's comment about us being educated fans who understand football. That's why we were soft with Madinda. I can't wait to watch the match against FC Platinum. That's Anele in Bulawayo.
The big leagues, the big teams, the big players. The beautiful game on ZiFM Sport. The beating drum. The roaring fans. Take a ride on the wild side with the Africa Report on ZiFM Sport.
Starting on the continent, the CAF Champions League quarterfinals draw made in Cairo offered a local club, Al Ahly, a chance to avenge one of the most humiliating defeats in their 113-year history. Ahly were trounced 5-1 on aggregate by Mamelodi Sundowns of South Africa in the quarterfinals last year, and the clubs will meet at the same stage this season. Holders Esperance of Tunisia were drawn against Zamalek of Egypt. Raja Casablanca of Morocco host DR Congo's TP Mazembe, and another the Moroccan club Wydad Casablanca will face Tunisia's Etoile du Sahel winners in 2007. The first leg of the quarterfinals will be played on the 28th and 29th of February, with the return leg set for a week later. So it's a quick turnaround, Alois, in terms of these quarterfinals. You play one weekend and you play the next, and it's done. And we're moving on to the semi-finals. So these teams literally have got a couple of weeks to prepare for these big games, and they are big games because they're evenly balanced, these ties.
Yeah, it's hectic. It's hectic. For a neutral, it's actually quite exciting. When you look at Mamelodi Sundowns versus Al Ahly, that's a one blockbuster of a match. Then there's Esperance versus Zamalek. Oh my God, that's a North African derby. That is actually crucial. If I was staying somewhere around there, that's one game that I wouldn't want to miss.
You couldn't get a ticket.
It's like a final.
You couldn't get a ticket.
Yeah,
you wouldn't get a ticket.
Yeah, you wouldn't. I think both legs are already sold out.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised even if Sundowns as well. I think they're probably. I'd love to see them employ the last year's tactics, where
come in yellow for free.
Yes. To the Lucas
sure
Masterpieces Moripa Stadium,
can do that.
because the atmosphere is key in these games, and I think Mamelodi Sundowns realized that whenever they traveled to North Africa, they realized that they were going into intimidating atmospheres with flares where the fans are behind the team. It's hostile, it's noisy, and they're trying to create that same atmosphere, Chris, in Pretoria, to make sure that these North African teams don't have it easy when they come down south.
Definitely, because I think Southern African teams, just by record, have a really hard time when they go up north. It's a lot of changes, even from basic things such as languages and kind of just feeling disoriented, the players themselves. It's all of those little things, but especially the stadium atmosphere. First of all, the stadiums are significantly larger.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people in that stadium, and like you're saying, they're incredibly hostile. They don't want you there in the first place, and their players on the field equally as intimidating, even just from a physical perspective. So just from a perspective of being able to get those people into the stadium no matter what, that is going to have a significant impact for Mamelodi Sundowns.
CAF also happy, Barry, because if you take a look at the caliber of the contestants in the quarterfinals, all 8 clubs have won the trophy before.
Yeah, all won it before, and I think they couldn't have scripted this way, because what you've got is you've absolutely got quality. And so for me, I know Alois was picking those 2 encounters as being tasty ones, but right through the roster, every single game is fantastic to watch. So I think CAF has got a solid there. My one sort of detraction from all of this is the fact that they haven't settled their TV rights issue as CAF. So some of us in these parts of the world won't be able to watch them as easily as we would have had that TV rights issue.
I think only the North African countries will be able to view them because they'll be on BN Sport.
Exactly.
And so that's a big letdown. I think the rest of the continent deserve to watch these matches because they are big matches. Now, just a quick update out of South Africa. If you're interested in ABSA Premiership news, as anticipated, tickets for the mouth-watering Soweto Derby have been sold out. Tickets for South Africa's premier football event went on sale 18 days ago. The traditional affair of the local football calendar that pits Giants, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates will be raising its third sold-out board for the 2019-2020 season. The ABSA Premiership match is scheduled to take place in 22 days' time on Saturday, the 29th of February at Soccer City, the FNB Stadium in Soweto. Alois!
This is absolutely crazy, Mike. When I'm thinking,
we are struggling for tickets outside of Rufaro.
I'm actually thinking of going to the match, and it's sold out.
You're not going to get a ticket.
22 days before the match, and we can't sell out. Harare Derby at Rufaro Stadium is a 35,000 seater stadium. This is a 90,000 seater stadium we're talking about,
and it's already sold out 3 weeks before
22
kickoff.
days before kickoff.
Orlando Pirates have banked their money.
Trutamba. We play.
And that's the thing, isn't it, Barry? That we have seen improvements in the crowd attendances in South Africa significantly over the last decade.
Yeah, and here's the kicker: it's because of TV, and the whole old adage about TV makes people stay away from the stadium. It's not true. What it does is makes people want to go to the stadium and want to experience it, especially if they've seen that it's entertainment, and that's what South Africa has built. They've built a brand of entertainment in their football.
Chris, they're packaging it really well in South Africa, and also they're growing it organically. They're not panicking. They set on course a plan which went via the World Cup and has continued over the last decade, and they've been making those step-by-step step-by-step progress over the years.
Definitely. I think what we look for in Zim is a quick fix. We want to get people to a stadium for this one match, and that's not necessarily how you do it. It's a progression, it's gradual, but what they've managed to do is get that messaging correctly.
The league that makes football oh so beautiful, where artistry and strokes of genius are the order of any day, where the game is played with a smile and the little master creates his magic.
It's Lionel Messi!
All the news from the Spanish La Liga on ZiFM Sport.
The goal the world wanted!
All right, now Barcelona head coach Quique Setien believes that the club have taken a step forward despite crashing out of the Copa del Rey last night. Inaki Williams, a 93rd minute goal, condemned last season's runners-up Barca to a 1-0 defeat at Athletic Club of Bilbao in the quarterfinals. Barca have lost back-to-back away games under Setien, who replaced Ernesto Valverde last month. However, the Spanish boss maintains the La Liga champions are heading in the right direction. Spanish football writer Sid Lowe disagrees and says Barca form away from home has been dreadful.
That in the context of everything that's happening to Barcelona, this is a disaster, however they've played. You know, this will deepen the crisis, this will expose them even more in a week in which Messi has said, you know, we take responsibility for what happens on the pitch. Well, what happens on the pitch turns out to be every bit as bad as what's just happened off the pitch. And so in that sense, they did themselves no favours, Barcelona. There were opportunities. Of course, Griezmann's chance was a very clear one. Messi's chance was a clear one. There's a good chance as well for Ansu. Barcelona's vulnerability trying to play out the back in the first half, I thought, was absolutely startling. You know, Ter Stegen gave away 2 perfect assists in 2 minutes. He then got caught again 2 or 3 minutes after that. Barcelona couldn't find a way out. And I thought that all the way through the game, while Barcelona fundamentally were the better side, we saw some of the problems they've had this year. The inability to get away from that press, the inability to catch people. You know, that moment when Inaki Williams is running up the wing, dragging PK along behind him, literally dragging him up the wing. You know, the fact that Ter Stegen and PK crashed into each other at one point. All the way through this game, Messi missing chances. Even though it's true that Barcelona made chances to have won this, and had they got 2 or 3 goals early on, we wouldn't have had any complaints. But they then conceded chances because Inaki Williams scores with what I think is pretty much his 4th good chance of the game. I still think in that sense, at least, we saw the reasons why Barcelona are absolutely dreadful away from home this season.
Strong words. Dreadful. Michael?
I suspect he didn't watch the game.
Yeah.
And
just looking at the result.
Yeah, looking at the result, and then obviously you put it in the context of other away results, and then you make a whole analysis based on statistics. Yeah. And that's where I think Sid Lowe is coming. Barcelona played their best game last night. That was their best away performance. They were fantastic. They were purring. Messi should have won it later on, and then the classic smash and grab. And that is cup football.
It's cup
For
football,
me, that is cup football knockout football. And they got beat. So for me, you know, there's nothing in that. I think for Barcelona, the main thing that they are really going for is the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think when they're knocked out of the Champions League, that's when they'll turn around and say our season has been a disaster. As long as they stay in the Champions League, I think they're quite content. They've won 8 of the last 10 league titles in Spain. So they're not exactly falling over themselves to win a 9th in 11 years. The Champions League is the trophy that has eluded them for so long now.
Yeah, and it's a case of Barcelona needing to rediscover their mojo. But Athletic Club of Bilbao will be very happy with this result, in the sense that now, with Real Madrid out of the Copa del Rey as well, it's anyone's trophy to take. And with an Arsenal like Inaki Williams, a player I really like in terms of how he operates in those forward areas, Athletic Club has got as good a chance as anyone.
Yeah, I think
Atletico Madrid also has been knocked out.
Yeah, I think Bilbao, it wasn't like a derby, a Catalonia derby as well. You know, Bilbao is Bilbao.
No, Bilbao is Basque. They're from the
Basque region.
Yeah. But when you look at Barcelona right now, I tend to agree with Mike when they mostly are interested in the Champions League. You know, the league, Copa del Rey. You know, those are minor. It's just like Liverpool treating FA Cup. it's not like a major to them. They are looking at but do they have the pedigree to go all the way in the Champions League? I'm not so sure at the moment, with the way things are happening, the squad, and how the atmosphere in general, what has been happening in Barcelona at the moment currently. I don't think they have what it takes right now, unless they turn it around. They might look to turn it around, but right now, things are not looking pretty for Barcelona.
Well, let's see how it goes, because Kike Setien is doing the job.
Zinedine Zidane felt the Real Madrid 11 he sent out for last night's 4-3 Copa del Rey quarter-final loss to Real Sociedad at the Santiago Bernabeu should have been good enough to progress. Zidane maintained a team that featured captain Sergio Ramos, Toni Kroos, Vinicius Jr. and Karim Benzema had more than enough to get the job done. But former Liverpool player and football pundit Steve Nicol says the problem with Madrid was in defence.
I mean, you're playing against Real Sociedad, who you know are going to come forward. Because that's what they're good at that. They create chances, they score goals. They're only 3 goals behind Real Madrid in the Liga. So you know they're coming forward. But when you're going to have 4 of your back 5, and I'm including the goalie in this, who, if there's a Champions League game tomorrow, are not playing and shouldn't be playing, then don't be surprised when you let in goals. But the surprising thing is, it was so many goals, so easily, and how it could have been so more. So, if nothing else, Zidane has to have learned in this game that at least 3 of the 4 that were in today should be nowhere near a proper game.
Barry, do you agree with Steve Nicol that the issue was in Real Madrid's defence?
Yes, I would agree with that, and I would agree that yes, that defence shouldn't be in a regular game. But also, I think Madrid has problems in their defence generally. Okay, even in the first team, I think they've been conceding a few more goals. Well, it's at least in the last couple of games they've drawn clean sheets. But you look before that, Zidane's return hasn't been as triumphant as it was last time. So the defence is having a few problems.
Let's take a look at the rest of your La Liga fixtures. Alaves versus Eibar, Levante versus Leganes, Getafe versus Valencia, Real Valladolid versus Villarreal, Atletico Madrid versus Granada, Espanyol versus Mallorca, Real Sociedad will be up against Athletic Club of Bilbao, Osasuna versus Real Madrid, Celta Vigo against Sevilla, Real Betis versus Barcelona.
Horsepower unmatched. Torque to beat the best. Speed unrivaled. Sleek and easy on the eye. Let's get behind the wheel of football engineered to perfection. The Bundesliga, made in Germany.
Massive game in Germany. Bayern Munich takes on top of the table Red Bull Leipzig, and who would have thought we would be saying that at this stage in the season? And you got to think to yourself, this is possibly a championship 6-pointer, eh, Bunj?
Yeah, it's quite interesting, to see another team that is challenging Bayern Munich besides Borussia Dortmund. They did that about a few seasons ago. They were in it and they collapsed, and it's actually good now. They're back in it. I hope that this time around they are in there for good.
They can go all the way.
They can go all the way. But well done to Leipzig, because they are showing that a team can actually come out and actually do this. This is a top of the table clash, like you said, and mouth-watering. Let's see what they can do. If they can do this time around, smash Bayern Munich. I'll be the best man in the world.
Key fixtures in the Bundesliga: Bayer Leverkusen versus Borussia Dortmund, Borussia Mönchengladbach takes on Cologne, and then Bayern Munich host Red Bull Leipzig.
Okay, quick update out of Italy. Big game is the Derby della Madonnina. It's at the San Siro on Sunday night. It is, of course, a city divided and a stadium divided between the two tenants. And this game here, very interesting, because AC Milan have had an upward turn of fortune, Barry.
Yes.
In the last month or so, they seem to be playing a lot better now.
They are playing a lot better. They're getting goals, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic coming in has also given them an extra bounce. He's scored goals. So it's a team that's on the up. Inter Milan themselves aren't no mugs. They can play a bit. So for me, for the first time in a long time, this derby is actually one of big interest.
Okay, key matches in Serie A: Inter Milan versus AC Milan, Parma versus Lazio, Verona versus Juventus, Fiorentina versus Atalanta, and Roma will welcome Bologna at the Stadio Olimpico.
If you hadn't already done so, fix your fantasy. There are 4 games in the Premier League, and Manchester City will be looking to further cement their place at the top 4 when they welcome West Ham to the Etihad. The rest of your Premier League fixtures: Everton versus Crystal Palace, Brighton versus Watford, and Sheffield will be taking on Bournemouth.
You should have told people, Chris, because this is your opportunity to make ground. People would have forgotten and fallen away.
I'd like to play fair, guys.
Thanks for the reminder. I actually didn't. You know what? I thought winter break, there are no games whatsoever. So this has helped me immensely.
Okay, give me your captain's picks. I know all of you guys are playing. Who are your captain's picks for this weekend? Alois, who are you picking as your captain fantasy football?
Aguero.
You're going with Aguero.
Yes.
He's got West Ham at home.
Yes.
I'm with you. I'm also with Aguero. But with Pep, you never know if he plays. He might not be selected.
Pep is a hazard.
If it's not Aguero, it's likely to be Richarlison.
Okay, Chris, who are you picking?
I'm with you guys. Aguero.
You're with Aguero?
Yeah.
Baz?
Yeah, Aguero one time.
Aguero. So we all Aguero as captain. So we better pray. From here, it's straight to church. On our knees to make sure Pep selects him tomorrow.
We'll catch up. Have a good weekend, Zimbabwe. May God richly bless you. That's my story. And I'm sticking to it. Manande, out.